easier.
Got it. I have to got it. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Barbara Aaron True, and I am doing this poetry raising awareness, poetry poetry initiative, raising awareness for the idea of aloneness versus loneliness. And my co-host, Melissa Begley, is here, the lovely and beautiful Melissa Begley. And we have created this poetry initiative every month. And we have here an assortment of people from all over the globe. And we're very happy to meet everybody. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to someone, and then they will read their poem, and we will go through the people that are here. And as people come in, they can be added. And right now we have Melissa Begley, Penny Wobbly, Mary Lynn Louise, and Musimi K. Sachdeva. Did I say it right?
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay, so we're going to go, of course, as always, to Melissa first.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and my sincere apology that Barbara and I were unable to complete the August poetry initiative, but I had my niece that had passed away unexpectedly, and she was more like a sister because she was not that much younger than me. So I'm going to read two poems. One is very short, and this is a poem that I wrote minutes after I was contacted that my niece had passed away. I'll read. Bless all unresolvable losses are unresponsive to a heart festooned with love. With beauty and grace, invigorate your mind to capture the cherished memories. Love is eternal and the empowerment of silence. And this is my poem. It is called Chambers of My Heart. I'm trying to prevent myself from crying. The movement of love is a ballet performance in my heart. The four chambers of my heart have been blocked for the reason the four people occupying the spaces have transmuted into spiritual beings. Ornamented with a diamond tiara that is not dazzling during my uncomfortable silence. My teardrops wonder if radiant days are an exception to the rule during one's crowning achievements during this life. The sheer energy force of God, the universe, bestowed upon the loving and caring parent, spouse, and a niece that was comparable as a sister. Virtuous, vivacious, colorful hues are rhythmic and bejeweling clustered in my midnight dreams. I have transitioned into a wanderlust, bohemian, vapor, wanderer, engineering gusty winds. Dubiousness projected from my dragon brooch, festooned with emeralds and rubies, is a descendant of sadness and grief. The elixir of nectar is the bouquet of love. And I selected these poems because I'm very lonely and alone without the people that meant the most to me. And they're all gone.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Expressed.
Touching.
Really
touching.
Okay, so sad, Melissa, so sad, and so beautifully captured. in those beautiful words, but I know the sadness behind them. So beautiful. And we are talking about being alone versus loneliness, and that was captured in that amazing poem. And so we move on to Penny. And everyone else who is not reading, please mute yourself. Oh, first, before we do, let's clap for Melissa.
Yeah, very, very good, Melissa. Thanks for sharing such tender thoughts, really. Very tender.
Okay, and everybody else, please mute yourself while Penny is.
No, I've never done anything like this before. It's a first to me. But, so I've chosen two, one long, one short. I've got three actually, because I wasn't sure what you were up to. So I'm going to start the first one, which is somebody whose partner is dying and they're saying their goodbyes, really. Whisper to me, as I bent my ear down near to hear you, you whispered your last words of love and goodbye. I held your hands tenderly, just as we did on our amazing wedding day. I just want to reassure you, I will always be near you, even as you slip away. Promising we'll be together somewhere, sometime in the place prepared for us. Love will surround the life I have, remaining with me till my final day. We will always be that lovely couple in the memories we leave behind. You and I, my darling, will always be together as kindred spirits forever, for all time. So it's just the actual loss, but trying to gather enough strength to go forward, holding on to your memories rather firmly. That's what brought that one on. Now this is quite different. It's about somebody who's lost everyone and everything, and they go to the beach and memories start flying back. So it's called Echoes from Beaches Past. When strolling the seafront one evening, the silence of the beach caused memories to spring into view. Whisks of feeling, tantalized till they became important to renew. The Punch and Judy shows, the first donkey pattern ride, the memory of candy floss and toffee apples almost produces taste again inside. As I stretch my imagination to hear once again children's laughter and cries. Games of bat and ball were arranged, and with bucket and spade soon appeared rows of sand pies. Sandwiches, homemade, with cakes to follow, tasted so much better with a light touch of sand. The calls of please, I'm thirsty, can I have a drink? Out of the bag would appear bottles of orange juice, sarsaparilla for us children, and flasks of hot tea for appreciative adults to consume. Books appeared in sunglasses as well, for a cozy read or a mystery to solve too. The sun was a pleasure or a curse on the skin so recently exposed, as umbrellas were erected in coloured profusion, trying hard to protect. Sometimes they were flung into comical confusion when a strong wind blew we did not expect. Some I remembered rolled along the sand, escaping rescuing hands to ride upside down out to sea to a future totally unplanned. At the end of the day, tired children very reluctantly left the sand, trailing buckets, spades, and wet costumes holding a parent's hand. As the local brass band played its final tune, packed up and left the bandstand. Oh, they were days to remember, simple it's true. My many friendships and romances started on shifted sand. I drew my coat around me a bit firmer and turned my back on the sea, taking all the revived memories back home with me. So it was just the solitude on the beach, and the feelings brought all the good things back the children you had, the friends you had, the loves you had, the things you enjoyed, the music, and then you still had to go home on your own, but revived by the memories, possibly. Thank you. Now,
Beautiful,
sorry, thank you very much.
Beautiful, Penny.
beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful. Huh. So good.
Beautiful. Okay, and now we will go. And these are just so amazing poems. To Mary Lynn.
Okay, my poem is very short, very emotional. Like Melissa, I hope I don't cry, but I'll try not to. But anyway, this is really real. What went wrong? Oh God, how can this be? The man I love is leaving me. What can I do? What can I say to convince him not to go today? What went wrong? We were so in love on our wedding day. I thought that our love forever would remain that way. The kids are grown. They have families of their own. I would rather die than go through this pain. The gossip, the shame. When this becomes known, oh, help me. Wait a minute. Oh, yeah. Oh, help me. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Oh, help me, Lord. I seek your face, your wisdom, and your grace. I trusted you when I married him. I trust you now with this marriage problem. And that's it.
Ah, Mary Lynn, beautiful.
Thank you.
That's beautiful. And welcome,
Very, very, very.
welcome, Kalapeda.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And we have so sad, Marilyn. Beautiful and sad.
Thank you.
And now we have Musimi.
Hi. I have just written you can say fact. People nowadays, they have everything, yet they are lonely. It's not that we are surrounded by people, but we long for someone who can talk to us, with whom we can share our thoughts, our feelings, our loneliness. So here is my poem. I hope you all will love. May I, Barbara, ma'am? Ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes, sorry, I was muted. Yes, you can
Okay.
be heard. Everyone, please mute while Musimi is reading.
So here I start. Surrounded by people, yet forlorn. Surrounded by people, yet forlorn. For it is not just the presence of humans that gives the company, but words she waits to hear and to be heard. Surrounded by people, yet forlorn, for it is not just the presence of humans that gives the company, but words she waits to hear and to be heard. The food layout on the table seems so tasteless. The air-conditioned room is so suffocated. She lends her ears to the footsteps, but they are mere sounds, letting her feel fearfully isolated. Loneliness is a painful trap. Loneliness is a painful trap. Can we find ways to unstrap? Let's spread an awareness and kill the higher risks of loneliness. Let's kill our loneliness. Thank you. So it's like, we are surrounded by people, we are amidst a crowd. Still, we are lonely because we find no one to talk to. We want us to be heard.
Right,
want that someone-
absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I agree. And we will talk about that in a few minutes, but thank you, Miss Simi. Beautiful. And now we go to Sonia. So happy to have you here. Sonia, unmute. Are you there? Unmute, please. Please unmute.
Can you hear me all?
Yes, we can hear you.
Now we can.
Okay, and everybody, while Sonia is reading, please mute yourself. Sonia, you're muted.
Can you hear ma'am now? Do you hear me?
Now we
Now
can.
I can. Now I can. Yes, now we can. No, no, you're still muted. Unmute yourself. There you go. No, you're back to muting. Okay, now you're fine. Somehow you're muting yourself. Start talking and let's hear if you're muted. No, you are still muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can hear you. Yes, thank you.
Oh, don't. She's pressed it again.
You pressed it. You keep pressing the mute button. All right, just unmute yourself and stay unmuted. Don't put your cursor on there. Can you unmute? Unmute yourself now. Nope, you're still muted. Just put your cursor on the mute button and it'll unmute you.
Can you hear me?
Sonia ma'am, just unmute and put your hand away. Put your finger away from the cursor.
Just unmute, Sonia. I know you know how to do it. So just unmute yourself. It goes, click on mute.
Yes,
And that
yes.
will unmute
Now
you.
don't touch. Don't touch. Don't again.
Now you're fine. No, do it again. Click on unmute.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
ma'am, don't
ma'am,
touch
can
now.
you hear me?
Now
Yes.
we can hear you. Yes.
Okay, you can
Do
hear me
not
now?
do anything. You're
Okay,
fine.
okay. I know I won't do anything. Okay. I picked the dimension of alone. I think so. For a person like me, I had to go through loneliness to feel this dimension of being alone, where I think so you don't need anyone, in the sense you are not a social recluse, but you are complete within yourself. And in your loneliness, when you seek something, I mean to say, in the Eastern cultures, we seek for a meaning beyond this loneliness. So here I go with the dimension of being alone. Some just withdraw into an empty space, simply alone, where you are happily complete within yourself, expressionless, serene, more organized, more withdrawn, a dimension where you contemplate, meditate, and analyze more, turning the pages of your life, scene by scene, word by word, and the greatest act that transformed you so, your lessons learned. And here you just seek that elusive emancipation, a call of your soul, where you just rise above all the dogmas and the dramas of life, not bothering to judge anyone, no curses to behold. And you love the love, and you love to love the beautiful feels of loving selflessly from your deepest cores, neither expecting nor complaining, and just becoming, focusing on individual inner growth, a peaceful, a blissful dimension where you simply stay calm in all your apprehensions. I think so. We can achieve this dimension, but we need to work on ourselves. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Gorgeous.
And thank you. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Sonia. And now we have Calipeda. Welcome, Calipeda. Please
Yes.
unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself, Calipeda. You are muted. Unmute. Unmute, please. We can't hear you. Hello, sir. Please unmute. Please unmute yourself. You are muted. There you go. No, you're not. Unmute. Okay. Okay, well, wait. You need to unmute. Put your cursor on mute. Unmute, and then it will unmute you. You know how to do that? We can't hear you, sir. You need to unmute yourself. We are waiting for your poem. Please unmute. Calipeda, do you hear me?
Ghosh sir, Ghosh sir, Kalipada Ghosh sir. Unmute.
Hello.
There you go.
Hello.
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 Hello, sir.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
you are.
yes.
Yes, you are. You're very audible. And
Uh,
we are waiting for your poem.
Good evening to all.
Good
At
morning.
the outset, I express my heartfelt gratitude and thankfulness for inviting me by the great poetess Barbara Enthu, the esteemed host, and to my sister Melissa Begley and Marilyn Lewis, my sisters, esteemed poetess. I am very pleased to have been invited by them to join and participate in the great platform raising awareness of aloneness or loneliness. The aloneness or loneliness is much needed dimensional. It's dimensional. It has great impact upon human life. The loneliness is the seclusion from the material world for the time being. But after this moments of the mundane life, we must gain some blissful solitude. We must achieve some bliss of solitude, which is the greater upliftment of soul to the eternity, our journey. This journey from mundane life to the eternal life is very, very tiresome. And this very word, the seclusion or solitariness or aloneness, is very, very much needed for human life to uplift his soul. Thomas Hardy, the great novelist, in one of his poems, Far from the Madding Crowd, he told that we must be secluded far from the madding crowd's ignoble strife. Far from the madding crowd's ignoble strife. So in this mundane life, we are striving for the upper to overpower the man, the situation, or something else for the benefit of our, for the interest of ourselves. But this is not the fact. The aloneness gives us the bliss of solitude, the bliss of solitude. And in this regard, our great prophet Swami Vivekananda, Lord Buddha, they were in meditation to achieve nirvana from the seclusion of the material world to gain the mental peace from the agony of this life, the agony of this life. We have some trials and tribulations in life, but we must overcome the trials and tribulations of life through our inner upliftment of soul, the spiritual awakening, the spiritual consciousness, the spiritual upliftment, the enlightenment, the nirvana. This is the fruitfulness, this is the fruition of the aloneness or the solitariness or loneliness. So, loneliness is not the seclusion of the human life, but it has a great importance to man's life for the uplifting of our soul, to reach the eternity, to reach the infinity. This is the great, this has a great importance. This has a great pertinent point to our life. So, this today's discussion, aloneness, and we must raise awareness of loneliness or awareness to uplift our soul. And in this context, I would recite a poem. Esteemed poetess and my host and my sister, Barbara Intru, Melissa Begley, and Marilyn Lewis and other sisters also, I express my heartfelt gratitude and thankfulness for expressing their gratefulness. As we are the human being, we must have great respect to them. This is the upliftment of soul. This is the nobility of our soul. This is the moral value of our human life. In this context, I will recite a poem. In this context, loneliness is far from the madding crowd's ignoble strife, as written by Thomas Hardy, the great poet laureate and Nobel laureate in English literature, not secluded from the society, but in aloofness from the society, in meditation or cogitation, in the higher spirituality and lofty thoughts for the spiritual consciousness or awareness to uplift the soul, searching the inner light, That is the nirvana of Lord Buddha. The celestial light is thus beckoning us, and we are seeking enlightenment to the and would perceive through the spirit in our through our inward eyes. Aloneness is the bliss of solitude for the upliftment of soul, for spiritual awakening and consciousness. This very perception and feeling uplift our moral sense sublime, and we must raise awareness to the aloneness versus loneliness. The aloneness is not loneliness. Aloneness for the time being, but we must mingle to our virtual world, our mundane life. We are not sages, ancient sages of the East or West, but we are the human being. We are the human being. We must have some passions, some emotions, some trials and tribulations to overcome and achieve the moral spirituality to the eternity. This very thought, this very feeling will uplift our soul, and we must mingle to the eternity, to the spirituality, to the infinitude. This very perception and feeling uplift our moral sense sublime, and we must raise awareness to the aloneness or loneliness. Gautam Buddha, who was in meditation to achieve nirvana, Swami Vivekananda, who conquered the West, especially in America in 1893. In 1893, Swami Vivekananda, who was I am the follower of Swami Vivekananda, the great disciple of Swami Vivekananda. I am the follower of Swami Vivekananda. He was the spiritual prophet, and he was the first freedom fighter of spirituality for the independence of India. So, to sublimity and to eternity or infinitude, at length, I would request all the poets of the world to think over the matter, to think over the momentariness of life, to think over the spirituality of life for the upliftment of soul. This withdrawal from mundane life is not from the mundane life, is not the withdrawal from the mundane life. In the midst of the mundane life, we must achieve success, we must achieve moral concentration, moral fulfillment, and moral awakening and consciousness. Thanks to all esteemed sisters and all the hosts and all my sisters and esteemed poetess of the world to raise awareness for the loneliness is very, very much needed necessity in our life. Thanks to all. My
Thank
my
you.
regards and thanks to all.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Kalapeda, your introduction was a poem. So I had no idea where the poetry began and ended. So thank you so much. Thank you. And we will get back to you in a few minutes and when with the discussion. Thank you. And now I have two poems. I'll read my first. One is from a long time ago. It's called Obeyed. Let me see if I can get it here because I have it and I have it here. Obeyed. And Obeyed is a reverie to mourning. It's actually a rejoicing to mourning. And so that's what Orbe is. Night disappears as your golden rays paint the sky, peach and shades of pink. The clouds reflect your beauty and create a backdrop for your radiance. My supine body lies still with eyes closed as you shimmer into existence, and the dark slowly fades to a gray and then blues as the sky lightens from the sun. I do not greet you anymore, since I don't want to acknowledge the one who loved you is gone. His joy at your first starrings brought me to watch your rise and glory in splendor. Now, though his presence is no longer with me, the memories continue, and his announcement that you had arrived is still pressed into the synapses of my brain, as is his delight in seeing you.
Very, very amazingly beautiful and excellent poetry recitation as well as the poem. This very height of imagination with reality and with the upliftment of soul is mingled together to make a harmonious whole, to make a
Thank you.
harmonious whole.
Thank
This
you.
very harmony and integrity
Thank
is
you.
the
Thank you.
essence
I
of
have one
poetry.
more. I have one more poem, and we'll get to
This very
discussing
harmony
things. Thank you
and
so much. I have one more
this
poem.
very harmony and this very unity of thought and expression. The unity of
beautiful.
thought and expression overpowers our soul, and we are very, very bewitched to
Thank you.
the rendition of my sister
The man
Barbara.
has the second poem.
Thank you.
The
I have
man
another
has
poem.
a
We can
second
discuss
poem.
it.
Let's
And
listen to it.
I appreciate all the praise. Thank you. Thank you. And now I have another poem. It is called You Can Be Alone and Not Lonely, but you can be lonely when not alone.
We are not alone.
Yes, we are. We
are
are all
not
going
alone.
to. You're all going to mute yourself while I'm reading, and then we will talk. Okay. When the anguish of a full life creates moments when you want to escape, you crave to be alone, where the freedom of choice is yours. Whatever you fancy at your fingertips, life is your ready server, and you can gather it all in solitude. The bliss of solitude cannot be described until your days are filled with noise and chaos, when you have shelved your desires for others and catered to their needs and whims as they live happily while you yearn for quiet. And this desire for aloneness cannot be mouthed, for to say it would be traitorous to the ones you love. You are everything to them and they need you. But the need can be suffocating, and sublimating your desires creates a feeling of loneliness inside of you. No one knows how you feel, even your husband. And in the din of your day, you find loneliness has become your companion, for you have deserted who you truly are, and eventually loneliness becomes a constant. Finally, in desperation, the idea of being alone, germinating all this time in silence, bursts forth as a butterfly from the cocoon of your existence to proclaim itself to him you adore, begging for a few quiet hours to pursue your own desires. And you relish those precious dewdrops of time when they come, cherishing them and tending to neglected parts of your body, never being lonely, for you are alone with yourself as company, those moments spliced into years of care. Then you lose the one who kept you whole. And suddenly it is not okay to be alone, for you are lonely for your soulmate. And loneliness returns to take permanent residence in your heart. End poem.
Very heartfelt.
Very, very, very good. Yeah,
Sorry, that really bothered me when I wrote the poem.
yeah.
I just sobbed because the ending line just got to me, and I'm sorry, I'm crying now.
Don't be sorry for crying. Please don't be
No,
sorry for
no,
crying.
emotions are real.
I'm crying for all of the people, the beauty of these poems. Everyone can unmute now. The beauty of your poetry to me always just floors me, how people have different ideas about a subject, and it's wonderful to get together and talk about them. And we should talk about the idea of what is it like to be alone and not lonely. Let's talk to that first. That feeling that I wrote about here, that at first in my poem, that you want to be alone. You just have to be alone. Okay, anybody?
Excellent. Excellent and awesome.
Yeah, it's wonderful, right? To be alone and not lonely. How many people have been alone and not lonely?
Yes, I've been alone, not lonely, quite often. I mean, I'm the only member of my family left. All my family have passed, all of them. And I've looked after all of them through their stages. And it was a very sad time. It was an honor too, because I was able to give them the care that they needed. But it was very painful. And it wasn't until they'd all gone and you think, I've no one to send a card to for Christmas. I've no one to speak to when I'm fed up, or to tell them something exciting that's happening and going on. It's strange. It takes adjustment. And I found that quite hard at the beginning. And every now and again it comes back and it gives you a hit. You think, oh,
Yes, and I know that the feeling of being lonely when alone only hits you when you realize that there is no one to tell that feeling to. You know,
right.
there's when I was younger and I had my husband with me, that feeling was relief when I could be alone, because I could do whatever I wanted, and I didn't have my children, and I could go anywhere, and I could, get my nails done, my hair done. I could, just be alone in the house and read and do whatever I wanted. But now I don't really like being alone that much.
But being alone sometimes is really good because you can go into yourself and know who you are, where I like that at times. And of course, now I am alone because my husband died a year ago, so I am alone. But most of the time I am not lonely. But it's a time of reflection, a time of growth, and taking those hurts and those memories and putting them into proper perspective so that you can move on, that you can move on, and this is a kind of a process that you have to go through. I think it's a process you have to go through, just like grieving when somebody dies. There's a process that you have to go through. If you don't go through it, you'll never get over it. You'll never get over
Exactly.
it.
I agree with you, Marilyn. Exactly. And yet there are times even now when I'm happy to be alone. I live with my 2 daughters and a dog. And so a puppy dog. And yesterday I got up and they were all gone. And it was, refreshing and exciting. I could walk anywhere in the house. I didn't have to worry about the dog. And I could do or say anything and eat anything and be anywhere. And it was kind of exciting for a little bit, but then I got lonely. So, it's like you like to be alone, but and how many people have ever been lonely when you're with someone?
Oh
That
my
is
gosh,
what my poem,
that's
actually,
the
my
worst.
poem only said
That's
that.
the worst.
Right. The idea that you
Yeah,
wrote that people
yeah,
are with someone and yet you're lonely because the people you're with do not understand you, the
yeah.
inner you.
Yeah, I like
So
what
you
Miss,
are surrounded by people. You are surrounded by people. You are surrounded by everyone, but somewhere or the other, you are still lonely in spite of being amidst a crowd,
Right.
because it is not only the presence of human. It is someone you need, someone that your voice should be heard, but whom to talk to,
Exactly. And
whom
Melissa,
to
you were
share that
going,
I'm feeling that,
yeah.
whom to share that I am feeling that, to whom should I express that I also have my words, I also have my voice, but who will listen to me? Everybody is busy in their own world.
And Melissa, what were you going to say?
I was just going to add to Masumi's poem because we can be around people and communicating, but there's very few people in this world that understand the depth of your soul, the depth of your communication, and really want to hear every word that you communicate. Otherwise, you're just, it's just words being exchanged. It's not that heartfelt emotion that is being exchanged. And, I miss that because I don't have anybody to have that in-depth communication with. And that is definitely a form of loneliness. As far as being alone, I do not mind being alone. I love to, go out and talk to my trees and, ground with cosmic nature and do things like that. And, think and, spend time with solitude, have solitude, tranquil times. But she said it all when, there's just nobody to communicate with that really listens and cares about every word that you speak. And that's a rarity.
Yeah.
I will say this, though. I will say this, that getting together with poets is a way to salve your loneliness because poets
Yes.
understand that feeling that you are trying to communicate. Poetry brings it out, and reading your poems together helps you to express what you are trying to say to the world that the world does not listen to. I mean, the reason I started writing was that I felt that I wasn't being, the inner me was not being listened to. The outer me was going about my day, doing whatever, talking with people, whatever, but the inner me was thinking these thoughts that were not coming out, and so I felt lonely. And so
Yeah,
that's why I decided to write, so
see,
that
I'm the
people could hear
opposite.
me.
I started writing just for fun, mostly through emails with friends before I even started in the poetry world. Just uplifting, have a wonderful day and, just rhyming and just entertaining. And then became that person that you became, Barbara, the one that wanted to express my feelings. And, and sometimes we write, it might impact a lot of people, it might not, but we're expressing ourselves.
I think it's very important, and I feel that writing itself is a way to heal yourself.
It is.
I mean,
Absolutely.
it helps you to get out those thoughts and feelings that you might not be able to express to people. I mean, my husband is gone 8 years. 8 years in May. And when I wrote the poem, all of the sadness that I felt came rushing back. I can go through my day, I can be fine. And then if I dwell on it, it all comes rushing back. And so that loneliness never leaves you. And I understand that. Anybody else want to talk about this? Sonia?
Sorry.
Yeah, I would like to say something, but in a very different way. I think so. What I'm hearing is everyone is going through this loneliness. What I feel is, why is there a very inherent need that people should listen to you? In the dimension of being alone, I think so. You listen to yourself. And here, I think so. I have been through loneliness. I'm not saying I haven't gone through it. But somewhere through my loneliness, I found out people would never be therefore as I expect them to be, or to perceive me as I am. So I think so. I choose the dimension of being alone, where I think so. I don't need that thing now. I don't need validations or anything of this. I'm not 100% there, but I think so. I traveled from being lonely to aloneness, and this brought a real change in my life, in the sense I'm not depressed anymore. I don't feel the need of someone who has to be very close to me. I go about it with my friends, but on a superficial level, not on a deeper level. I became deep with myself, I think so. And that has really helped me. I think so. In the Eastern culture, we understand aloneness in a different way. It is a way of a little spiritual. We all are spiritual beings, we are spirits, but it is understanding life beyond expectations, or beyond possessiveness, or beyond holding any grudges towards anyone. You just move on, you just go with the flow of life, and responsibility, enjoy it. So I would, this loneliness gave me a lot of pain when I just moved from this path of loneliness to being alone. I think so. I'm a much happier soul.
Yes.
I would like to keep, I think so. For this, I had to seek a lot. I had to read a lot. And the Vedic culture in the East, I'm not saying I'm read everything, but the small things that I read, I think so, that really gave peace of mind to me, in the sense I'm just okay with the things. I don't have that inner need that people should understand me. It's okay if they don't understand me. I just move on. So I think so. I have a different perception here. But I do agree that when you are going through loneliness, that is a very, it's not a good feel. And you just want someone to be there to hold on to, I think so. But that's a perfectly human need. But again, I just talk of a journey, a step ahead of loneliness.
Oh, yes, it is a journey.
Yes, you have to do a journey.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's definitely a journey.
It's a journey.
It's a journey. And
So-
many times I feel like you, that I want to be alone, and I can be alone spiritually, walking alone, being alone, staying alone in my room for hours, just to be alone. Yes. But occasionally, I like to be with people who are of the same, mindset, and it's very comforting. And I enjoy that feeling, even if superficially, to be with those people.
I would again
Yes,
like to say
and that
something.
that
Alone
journey
doesn't mean
you
are in
have is
seclusion.
wonderful.
No. Again, I would say alone doesn't mean you are in seclusion. Rather, I think so. You become more an open person. You communicate more. You enjoy people more as they are. You become more outgoing. When you are lonely, I think so. You just go into your shell. Once you are alone, I think so. You just move out of your shell and you communicate more, and you are accepting more, and you enjoy life more. So I think so a little bit, but I can definitely understand the part of being lonely, because I have been through it.
Yeah, I understand.
Here I would say a point. Here I would like to share, Max.
Yeah.
Yes, you want me time to be with you, so that you do not want anyone to hear. But sometimes I have seen people who seek for loneliness, me time, but responsibilities, trap you. Even if you want to be lonely, even if you want that me time, you don't get it. That makes you more lonely, because you want to be free. you want to move out, you want time, but somewhere or the other, there is no one to hear to you, but you are stuck in your responsibilities. What do you say? You are looking for that term called loneliness so that you can spend time with yourself. Nobody, you do not care about what others say, all right? But somewhere or the other, you do not get that me time because you are trapped in the day-to-day life or the responsibilities or your duties.
Yes, I
What do you
agree.
say?
I agree. You're not lonely because you're trapped, right? But you're trapped and you're lonely because that loneliness is, that's what my poem said, that even though you are with people, you are lonely because you can't be doing the things that make you a whole person. And when you get to do those things, that's when you are happy with yourself alone. You know, it's like
Yeah.
you're lonely with people, and then when you get to be by yourself, you're fine. You're alone and you're comfortable and you're happy. And I go through periods when I want to be alone. And I just want to be alone. And then I don't want to be alone. I want to be with people. And I'm happy because I've been alone. I've taken that time to be with myself. And I understand what Sonia said, that you need to understand yourself and take time to be with yourself. And Melissa, you're very spiritual and mystical. And
You know, I understand the majority of my relationships throughout my life have been superficial. My dad was a high-ranking official of the United States government, Department of Defense. So we traveled. I went to 3 different high schools, 1 overseas, 2 in different USA states. So the individuals, which there was only 4, have passed away. And yes, I'm extremely lonely. Yes, I get very depressed. I cry a lot. I used to never cry. I probably spent my whole life rarely crying about anything. And you know, yes, I can gravitate towards other people, communicate with them, enjoy them, you know, have those superficial relationships, a lot of wonderful relationships, but it's not the same. And those relationships cannot be replaced no matter what you do, in your lifetime, no matter your successes, your achievements, your accolades in life. I do believe that there are certain souls that you are bonded tightly with. I think we're all souls that are one, but some that I think that you are just, that you are just bonded together and you cannot break that. And you'll be together with that person in the afterlife and possibly in other lives, depending upon what your viewpoints are. And yeah, I can enjoy the superficial relationships, but no, my heart is broken. It'll never be repaired. Yes, I know it's a grieving process. I'm moving on. It's fresh, just losing my niece. Realistically, I know these things. Logically, I know these things, but emotionally, I shut down sometimes. And as Barbara stated, her husband has been gone for 8 years, and there's times that she shuts down. It just does not turn off.
no, it doesn't. No, grief does not turn off. Grief is, it does not have a timeline, as some people say. Oh, you can get over it. You can't
Find
get
another
over it.
man.
Yeah, find someone else. Sure. Yeah, especially at my age. And Mary Lynn will say the same thing. It's a process when you lose the one who was your soulmate, and then you find there's no one to take them, no one that could possibly replace them. And then you move
And
on.
never
with your
should they.
thoughts.
They never should be replaced.
No,
But I
No.
do believe, now you may have me a little bit wrong
That's it.
there, Barbara, because I do believe you move on. I believe that my husband would very much be disappointed in me if I go on grieving forever. I
oh
think,
no, I'm not
very
talking about grieving. I'm talking
well, I'm
about
just saying,
being able
I
to find
believe that you
another.
can move on and find another person to help share your life so that you're not alone, that you really enjoy getting up and seeing a sunrise and a sunset and being able to share it with somebody. And I don't think that because you would do that, that you would dishonor your husband that you love so much, because they should never be forgiven. They never will be forgiven. They will always be in your heart. They will always be alive, you know, to share these things. So yes, I do believe it is a process. You have to go through it, and everybody is different. It takes time. And for everybody, it's totally different. It's totally different.
And
There
you know,
is no right and there is no wrong.
no, and you know, even if you think that you're enjoying yourself, even you're at a concert or you're enjoying yourself. There's one song of a performer that I love, who, if we're at a concert or I hear it on the radio, I burst into tears because it just reminds me so much of my husband, and my daughters know it. So they're aware when the song comes on. We went to a concert and they held my arm because they knew that I was going to get upset. And so you're not lonely when you have people around you, when you have people who understand you, and you know, and that feeling that they understand. People who understand you are very important to be around. If you're around people who don't understand you, who don't know who you are, then it becomes more difficult. But it's, as Melissa said, it's superficial, and you like these people superficially. And I have a great many people I like superficially, who I enjoy being in their company. And I went to something called a meet and greet last night with my group at Greenwich Penn Women, and I met people I hadn't seen in a while. And one woman took my arm like this, and she said, "Oh, Barbara, it's so nice to see you." And you feel good about it, and you hug them and you say hi, and that kind of thing. And that's wonderful. And that soothes part of your inner being, because then those people are there for you. But on the other hand, it's not the same as being with people who truly love you. And I understand Melissa, and I grieve with Melissa. I feel her soul, the inner part of her soul. And we haven't heard from some people. So anybody else want to talk?
I think Penny should talk.
Yes.
Oh, right.
Penny.
I'll manage something because my power is going down. But it's plugged in and I've got the computer's plugged in. But anyway, I'll say a few words. Yes, loneliness has played a big part in my life at different times. There's loneliness when you've been ill, when you're separated from your family and your loved ones, and you're having to deal with pain or a situation you're not familiar with. And it can be extremely lonely, and you can have times of absolute despair during that. And other times you have loneliness when you're in a group of people and everybody's chattering away and having fun, and you're sitting there, this isn't for me, this is not me, I can't deal with this, I want to get out. How do I get out? What's my escape clause? What do I have to say? That's another sort of form of loneliness. And then when you're with a group of people who don't speak the language, and you want to speak the language, you want to understand, but you can't. There's this great barrier. So mime comes into play in the fingers and the faces. And that has an appeal as well, because it drags you out and you can communicate, but in a different direction, which is good, I think, for me. But I'm not lonely. I'm a person who's, though I've got my husband and I, and sadly he's beginning to get dementia, and so that's becoming a problem.
And
But
that can cause loneliness because
very
you've
much.
lost part of your,
Yes, but I watched the loneliness with him. I watched the story with him of what he's lost, because he's a very, very clever man, and he is aware now that he's got some differences. But you have to make allowances for it, and then you have some huge humor out of it. You can have huge humor out of it. And people wouldn't understand that who've never been in this situation, but it is a part of the loneliness and part of acceptance and part of understanding and part of loving. It's loving one another. You know, you've been there a long time. You've been through the thick and the thin. So for me, loneliness, I share loneliness with other people. I'm not lonely. I adopt people. I've adopted a family. I talk to people. I talk to people at bus stops. Not that I've been on a bus for a long time, but when I'm out and I talk. And I think that's important because people you talk to are lonely quite often. Some of them have lived alone, never spoken to a person all day. And when I say, hello, has the bus gone yet? It's one of my opening lines. And if they say, no, it's not gone yet. Oh, lovely. Do you live locally? And you can do it with simple little questions, simple little ideas. And they respond. And you get those wonderful stories because as a writer, it's like bliss to hear these lovely stories from these people that may never have had an opportunity to express it. So loneliness has very many avenues as far as I'm concerned. That's what.
Yeah. One aspect of my husband's cancer was brain cancer. You know, he had lung cancer and brain cancer. So I understand the mental status changes that are involved. You know, a lot of times you just have to accept it, and humor is healing. And,
Yeah.
you know, my
Yeah.
husband did some silly things like he, you know, I don't know how many times he caught the stove on fire, which, you know, I got a new stove out of it. And, you know, I never did criticize him. He would flood things all the time. I don't know how many times I'd come home and I'd say, oh, Ken, the bathroom is flooding, you know. So, you know, understand that mental status change. And I'm like you, Penny, I love
Yeah.
small talk. When I'm out in
Oh,
public, I talk to everybody. And that's one of the reasons I'm glad that mask is gone, so I can chat with people. And a lot of people will ignore me, but other people, it's just, you know, we just stand there and hold up the line at the grocery store or whatever, because we're just chatting along. Everybody's happy and it's fun. You know, it's almost like we're chirping little birds. You know?
Yeah, it is. And I think you need that to live in society, to be able to communicate with other people who are around you. But you just reminded me of my husband had calcium, high calcium, and he became delirious during this time. And he thought that the bathroom was a bar. And he came out and he told me, I didn't know we had a bar in our house. He said, all these colored lights. And I said, where? He said, oh, you know, that room off the bedroom. I said, oh, okay. And I mean, we lived with that for, you know, half a year. He was like that. And when you're living with someone like that, that is lonely. But I also understand that when you're in a crowd and you can't talk to people, it's lonely. But when you're in a crowd and you're with someone that you're enjoying it with, the rest of the people fall away and you're with that, you know, those people. And so it's good to have people that you can be with, but also it's good to make new friends and to enjoy life, as Melissa and I and Penny does. And I'm sure that Sonia does when she's out. And I know you do a lot of speaking engagements, right? And you're constantly in the public eye, and that can make you feel lonely, I'm sure, because you're talking to all these people and they don't really know you. They're only seeing the public you, not the inner you. You know, and so that could make you lonely if you have to do a lot of them. And I know Musimi is always traveling. I'm really shocked that you're not in a taxi today.
You know what? I think I seek nature. I am a green person. So I always find that the best company I have are my plants, are my greens. So I even talk to my plants. I even talk to my trees, the flowers I plant. So it feels like I have the best company with me. I do not want any human.
Well, I agree. Trees and plants and we have a path.
But,
Yeah,
I will say some.
go ahead.
It's raining heavily here.
Okay.
Electricity is gone. I think suddenly I may get
Lost my
disconnected. I'm
husband
still.
when I was very young, so
Oh, okay.
28.
We have to stop early because we have to go pick up some things. Tomorrow is, I don't know if anybody knows or is aware of it. It's Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the Jewish New Year. And we get together and we celebrate and have a huge dinner. And I'm going to be going to my brother's house and seeing him for the first time in a long, it's been like, I don't know, I saw him earlier this summer, but he lives so close to me, but we don't see each other much. And so I'm going to see him and my, hopefully my niece will be there. So that will be fun.
Happy Rosh Hashanah.
Oh, I hope she'll be there.
Enjoy,
And we
enjoy.
had to get a dog
Enjoy,
sitter
enjoy.
because the dog can't be alone. He is only 8 months old. And the dog last night when my daughters went out for a little bit, the dog came and lay on the sofa with me, and having him next to me was just so comforting. Having this wonderful, sweet, not uncaring what you're wearing or anything, this unconditional love being given to me. He put his paw on my body so that he had a connection to me, and it was just, that feeling just goes right through you. Just such a warm, comforting feeling of being with a human, not a human, but
A warm body.
Unconditional love.
right.
Unconditional love.
Yeah, there's nothing you can say about having a dog. And I didn't want one because we lost 3 of them, and then I fell in love. You know, it's like you can't help it. They're just such loving things that you can't help it. And Calipati, you haven't, is he still here? I don't know if he's still here.
I don't see his name
I
anywhere.
think he got lost for
I
us.
did want to tell Sonia that I enjoyed what she had to communicate about, you know, the way that she has handled loneliness. And I found it to be very inspirational and impactful and very profound. And I think that that is something that's probably helped each and every one of us.
Absolutely.
And I just wanted to tell you, thank you.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes, very much
Thank you.
so.
And it's a matter of moving beyond and moving to where the spiritual is very important.
Absolutely.
The
It is.
spiritual, the mystic, the feeling that you're not alone, that
And
you
being
are
happy in your life.
happy.
You've got to
Yes.
be happy in your life.
Yes, and
You
I
know?
think that feeling moves you to be happy, because when I wake up, I am happy. You know, I am happy. I'm happy to see the sun, whatever, you know, day it is, and I'm happy. And I'm happy that I have my life. And if you can enjoy your life and be the person you want to be, then you can be happy. I mean, sometimes I am thwarted in my desires because I'm not independent. I unfortunately have to get a new car, and not having a car, it makes you very dependent on people. And when that happens, then I feel kind of lonely because you know, you're dependent on somebody, and if they can't provide what you need, then you know you're in that situation where you have to be figuring out what to do. How can you move forward with this? And is it important enough to ask this person to go out of their way for you. You know, it's that whole feeling of not wanting to be alone. And it's, you know, it's a devastating feeling when you realize that if you didn't have this person, you might be alone. And it's, you know, that's that kind of feeling kind of gets to me. But other than that, I'm happy, and I understand that feeling
Yeah.
of being alone, like, you know, that spirituality of finding the peace that you need. And thank you, Sonia. I agree. Loved your poem. I loved everyone's poems. They were so beautiful. They touched me.
Love
so
this
much.
show. This is what
Yeah,
is
even-
filling up our loneliness. We are uniting through poetry, and this is amazing.
Yes, and raising awareness for the kinds of loneliness and for the fact that you can be alone and not lonely, and you can be lonely and not alone, and just that whole feeling that people should know.
An
And
in-best relationship.
right, and I think it builds a stronger bond between people when you know that inside of you, you know, that
Sonia,
there's
ma'am,
a
inspiring.
very, yeah, there's a person who a songwriter, John Prine. Do you know, Melissa, you know John Prine?
Heard them before, yes.
Yes. And he has a song called are you what's that song about being alone? And if you're walking down the street one day, that say are you alone in there? Are you alone? And in other words, talking about somebody who is in their house, and are they alone? You know, do you see someone who's vacant eyes? Stop and say hello in there. Just say hello in there. Are you alone? And it's very much what Penny said. She's not here now, but it's what Sonia said, and it's what you said, Melissa, that you talk to people. And I should get the lyrics for that, because the John Prine lyrics are so good to end this. So I'm going to try and get the lyrics for that. But it's called Alone in There. I think that's
There's a Pink Floyd song, Hello, is anybody home?
right, right. And it's lyrics. Here it is. It's called Hello in There. Let me read it, because this is such a beautiful way to end this thing. It's called Hello in There. We had an apartment in the city. Me and Loretta liked living there. Well, it's been years since the kids had grown. A life of their own left us alone. John and Linda live in Omaha, and Joe is somewhere on the road. We lost Davy in the Korean War, and I still don't know what for. Don't matter anymore. You know that old trees just grow stronger, and old rivers grow wilder every day. Old people just grow lonesome, waiting for someone to say hello in there. Hello.
Hello in the air.
Me and Loretta, we don't talk much more. She sits and stares through the back door screen, and all the news just repeats itself like some forgotten dream that we've both seen. Someday I'll go and call up Rudy. We work together at the factory. But what could I say if he asks what's new? Nothing, what's with you? Nothing much to do. You know that old trees just grow stronger, and old rivers grow wilder every day. Old people just grow lonesome, waiting for someone to say hello in there. Hello. So if you're walking down the street sometime and spot some hollow ancient eyes, please don't just pass them by and stare as if you didn't care. say hello in there.
Please do it.
Hello.
It's amazing.
Hello.
Beautiful lyrics. Beautiful. lyrics.
Beautiful, beautiful.
That's John Prine. And if you want to look it up, it's John, Prine.
You know, when I suggested to Barbara that we should elaborate on these topics, and that is why we initiated the poetry awareness, you know, most of the time it has, you know, been things that we have brought to the attention to the world, to poetry, you know, to other people, you know, whether it's abuse against women. But I feel that this is the first poetry initiative that we have had that has actually brought healing energy and love to every one of them. And it's almost like it's our own little individual healing club. And, you know, it's been a beautiful session and everybody's poems were very impactful. And I'm just glad that I made it through without crying. And I think all of us made it through without crying.
I had a few tears at the end of my poem, and
I could barely read my first poem.
you could barely read your first poem.
And the
But
second one I had difficulty, but
yeah,
it's
they're
been
hard. That Obeyed is very difficult for me, but the other one that I wrote last night, I sobbed. I sobbed for minutes. I mean, just minutes of sobbing. And I said, oh my God. You know, after that last line, I said, why did I write that last line?
And when I write poetry from, you know, my inner soul, my heart, I don't even edit it. I mean, it's just what comes out is there.
Yeah.
It might not even be
Absolutely.
a grammar. It's just there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
My
I
very
think,
first poem that I ever wrote was written in anger. I was on a train, and a newspaper was in a seat next to me, and it had on the front, Serbian-Croatian war begins.
oh,
And I thought, what's this all about? What's this about? Fighting one another for nothing. It's men's power. It's nothing to do with religion. Religion has no place in this, on any war. It's purely power struggles of men and dominance. And I was so angry. And I never wrote because I'm dyslexic. And I fought. I thought, oh, I'm so cross. And so I dived in my handbag and I found an envelope. And I found a pen. And I scribbled on the back of this envelope. And I wrote a thing called The Defeated. And it was about a little Muslim family waiting in a cellar, trying to work out why their neighbors, they're so recently very good friends, wanted to kill them. They couldn't understand it. We shared food, we shared children, we shared love, we shared poverty, we shared what we had. And now, suddenly, because of one person telling us, we kill one another. And it just infuriated me. So I wrote this poem, and it's about this little family. And the man at the end asks the Shakespeare quote, and I might not get it right now, but the quality of mercy is not strained, but droppeth a gentle rain from heaven. And he hopes that Allah sends rain, gentle rain on him and his from that period on to look after the many. And the sadness of that one was that 2 years later, all the boys and men were murdered by the Serbs when the Dutch United Nations left the secure area they were in. And that was even worse. It was like horror. So it was like a cork out of water. When I got home, I had a little abstract computer, which I never touched really much at all. And I found a thing called spell check. Oh, that was a wonderful thing to find. And I put my Defeated on. And then after that, I could not stop. It's just poured going ever since and hasn't stopped. And that's
I agree that, and I have to tell you that my very first poem, when I started writing, was, again, I only wrote at the age of 8 and then stopped writing, and then at the age of 18 started writing again. And I wrote about the Vietnam War, and it was just so devastating to me. I had so much anger, and I think you can write because that is an emotion that you feel from hatred. Hatred can be an emotion that you feel, that and distaste, and sadness and that kind of thing can be an emotion that you feel. So I
Well, I
think
found that my
Amy had two
poetry is
keys.
very healing.
Yeah,
So to me, it comes from my heart, like Melissa said. And you know what? Sometimes when we're writing our poetry, we really don't know what we feel until we start writing. And then all of a sudden, a feeling that we couldn't identify before just comes flooding through, and then we're able to heal. That poem that I wrote today was a healing process for me because that actually happened to me. And I did want to die. I didn't want to go through that shame and that heartbreak and all that stuff. I just wanted to die. Let's just get it over with, be done with it. But then spiritually, God says, do you want that man raising your kids? And I said, no. And it totally changed me. But during that process, there was a lot of heartache. There was a lot of forgiveness. There was a lot of inner reflection that had to go on and for me to go on, you know. But the fact that I shared that poem helped other people. And that's why I shared
yeah,
it.
that's
because
what
it
I
helps
found.
other people.
I found, Mary Lynn, that when my poetry book was written, and but even before then, when I started posting my poems that came from such depths of sorrow on Facebook, and people said, oh my goodness, that helped me so much. And then when I gave my poetry book was published, and people started telling me that, oh my goodness, your book has helped me so much. And people like Melissa tell me that it helped them, and other people tell me that it helped them. I think, oh my God, my sorrow has helped someone, and that bringing it out helped not only myself, but other people. And when that happens, when you see that what your words have done, not only have they healed you, but they've healed other people. And I think this poetry initiative that Melissa and I have started is one of the best experiences I've had in a long time, because you get to hear everyone's poetry, you get to discuss things that you never talk about really in
I
public.
think so,
You don't
Barbara.
talk about that.
Barbara, I would like to, hello, I would like to say something. I think so, poetry is so cathartic. Like I started
Yes,
my
yes.
journey 4 years back. I have my paradigm shift. And so from pain, I have shifted to love. That's the journey of poetry. That's how it heals you. If I see my writings of 2 years back, and I'm shocked, this is what I have written about pain. And there is a shift. Now I write about love. And I think so, this journey has been so beautiful. It has healed me so. And I hope people who listen or read my poetry, again, I would like people are helped through it. I meant to say now the things are inspirational. From pain to inspirational. That's a change. That's what poetry has done to me.
Yes, I agree. Poetry inspires other people to write. I have a little poetry group from my Greenwich Pen women. I started because we get together to critique people's writing in prose. And in prose, that's fine. You can critique prose, but poetry cannot be critiqued. Poetry comes from your heart and should never be criticized or given notes or anything like that. So I started this group of people, and I said, in this group, we are not going to give each other comments on our work, except it's wonderful, I loved it, and why you loved it. And so my group is 8 people. In this group, I had someone who had been blocked from writing. She did not write until she got into the group, and now is writing all the time, like a fountain opened up. And she's writing, and she tells me that poetry has opened up her life. And the people in the group just love it, because all we do is share poetry like this. and talk about it and eat and, and get together. And on Zoom, we were on Zoom. Now we're getting together in person. And it would make me so, so happy to see all of you in person. But
Amazing.
distance is so difficult, but it's wonderful to see you now. Melissa, what is our next topic? Do you know?
We have not made that determination yet. So
We
if
will
anybody,
soon determine.
so if anybody has any suggestions, recommendations, please put it in the chat room. Actually, this suggestion came from our poet brother, Kenneth. And
Yes, Kenneth couldn't be here. Yeah.
and so everybody is willing to, make recommendations. If not, I have placed a list somewhere in the chat room of topics that we can discuss. I did think that maybe, I know this is kind of a very, very dark topic, but I really think that sexual trafficking of children.
Oh,
That's a toughie.
that's a
It's
big
It's a
one.
very tough one.
It's a tough one, but it's $1 billion industry.
Oh, it is, absolutely.
And, who knows how many of our people who in the hierarchy of our societies are involved with this.
I actually, unfortunately, I actually have a poem that's actually published in an anthology of a child. It's not a sin. It's I'd have to get it out and read it, but yeah, that's a topic we could think about. And I just want to say I have to leave, but let's all get together next month, last Saturday of the month,
Thank you for having me.
Eastern. And I'm just going to say
See
kisses
you,
from
Kenneth.
Connecticut.
Yeah.
Okay,
Kentucky, the bluegrass
amazing
state.
to see you all.
And I'm so glad that you
Sunshine
joined us.
State, Florida, we're here.
And in Florida.
Yeah, we're expecting bad weather next week.
Are you?
You're getting
Well,
that hurricane that
there's a hurricane
destroyed Puerto
coming.
Rico?
Yeah.
You're getting that hurricane that was in Puerto Rico?
It's
No,
coming
that
up
went
the
on.
Caribbean.
That went
That
up
went
towards.
on?
That went
Yeah.
on up towards Canada.
Oh,
Where are you
This
based,
one's
Sonia?
supposed to come through around Wednesday. I think if it comes, they're kind of expecting it to come kind of into the Tampa area, and hopefully it's going to miss us. I hope it does, because it says if it does hit us, it's going to be the worst one we've ever had.
Dear.
okay.
So I'll
Well,
be
I'm
buying
just
some
going to
peanut
say,
butter and some crackers.
I'm going to stop the recording.
Okay, love you
now,
all.
Okay.
and
Thanks for
I'm gonna
joining us,
say
Penny. Please come next
goodbye.
time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Sonia.
Goodbye, goodbye, everyone.